Should I do cardio? This is the question that we routinely get asked, and typically it revolves around two reasons. The number one reason I think why people ask if they should add cardio to their exercise regimen is normally around fat loss. And I've already spoken at length about this. I'm not going to get into that one today, although I know some of you are probably itching to know, like, well, why don't I need cardio if I want to lose more body fat? As I said, that is a question for another day, one that has already been answered. And I am happy to point you in the direction of videos that we've done on that. Now, the second reason why people typically ask, should I add cardio? And just for frame of reference, this usually comes as people enter our program, which is entirely resistance training based. So unlike your boot camps, your CrossFits, your jazzercise classes, Orange Theory, where all of these different exercise modalities encourage you to perform a lot of aerobic exercise, we do not. And there is a good reason behind it. Now, the reason why people typically feel like they should add it, other than fat loss, typically revolves around heart health. And it revolves around their aerobic conditioning. So I want to go there right now with you because, some of you have probably not heard this before. And in fact, your perception around resistance training might be that, well, oh, that's what those muscle people do, right? That's what those guys who are all big and bulky and just lift heavy stuff, that's what they do. Well, actually, resistance training is for everybody. And in fact, if you are a parent, like a middle-aged parent, this is probably the most important form of exercise you could do. If you are starting to creep toward your 70s, your 80s, this is definitely the most important form of exercise that you can and need to do. And let's dive into the aerobic component, okay? Now, normally we're thinking about our heart health, right? We're thinking about our aerobic capacity, our conditioning. And one of the ways in which we measure our aerobic capacity is what's called VO2 max. Okay, now for the quick definition of it, your VO2 max is considered your maximal aerobic capacity. So it's how much oxygen is taken up by your body. And specifically when this is measured, it's how much is taken up within 1 minute. And this is often an indicator of a person's physical efficiency. It's a predictor of their future health. So this is a number that when tested for, you want to pay attention to because it can tell you a lot about your potential future. Now, here's the cool thing. Recent study, by recent, I mean this was done in August of 2021, and it actually compared doing high intensity interval training. So this was done on a treadmill. You could think sprints with time off, sprints with time off. And then they compared that to resistance training. And the resistance training was actually done very much pure physique style, the way we would do it, right? It's going to be up tempo. It's going to be high effort. We're going to work your entire body and make sure that every muscle is getting its just due. So that said, we might as well just skip to the results, right? Who cares about exactly how it was done? Everybody wants to know, well, what does this mean for me? So here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and read this. And at the end of the day, resting VO2 max was significantly higher 14 hours after resistance training compared to baseline. However, high intensity interval training showed no significant change. No significant change. This is important, guys. I mean, you might just be thinking, oh, well, that's cool to know. But no, this is important. What this is pointing out is the efficiency of resistance training and how it has such far-reaching effects beyond just getting stronger, looking more toned, right? Elevating our metabolism. I mean, it does all those things too, but it actually helps us with our aerobic capacity. And in fact, in many ways, there's no such thing as cardiovascular conditioning. Think about this for a moment. All this time, it has been told to you that you needed to do cardio to improve your cardiovascular conditioning. But when you're doing cardio, you're not improving your cardiovascular conditioning. What you're improving is your cardiometabolic conditioning. And here's the difference. You see, When you're improving your cardiometabolic conditioning, that means that you're improving your conditioning specific to what you are doing. So this is the reason why if somebody is a runner, if you run every single day, you put in your 3 miles or 5 miles or more, but then you were to go and get thrown in a pool and said, go do a lap, but you don't typically swim laps in a pool, you're going to feel gassed after one lap. And how could that be? I mean, you have this great cardiovascular conditioning. You run every day, you do it with ease, in fact. But it's because your conditioning is specific to the activities that you do. Now, this is not to discourage somebody from running if they enjoy running. It's great. Listen, I believe that all activity is good and healthy for an individual. Do I think that some people take it too far, particularly with the running and put their joints at risk? Yes, I absolutely do. But at the end of the day, it's a personal preference. Most of you guys know it's not my preference, but hey, I'm not you. You're not me. So if you like to run, run. That's fine. But if the reasoning for you doing it is because you believe that you are improving your cardiovascular conditioning, this is not entirely true. Yes, there is some improvement, but a lot of that improvement is due to your muscles. So now stay with me. For those of you who've heard this example before, don't mind hearing it again, do you? I hope not, because here we go. All right. So if I were to take any of you to the Empire State Building and say, hey, go ahead and walk up to the observation deck as swiftly as you can, and you were to do this, chances are by the time you get to the top, you're going to be a little out of breath, right? I mean, your heart's going to be pounding a little bit. You might be trying to gasp for some air. And let's just pretend for a moment we bring you back down to the bottom. And because Mike is the magical muscle fairy, I go ahead and I bless you with hips and thighs that are 60% stronger than they just were. Now, after an adequate amount of rest, we have you go walk back up to the top of the observation deck as swiftly as you can. And you get there, and you still might be a little tired. Your heart might be going a little bit more, but chances are it will not be going as hard as it was. Chances are you will not be gasping for as much breath as you had previous. So what's the reason? I mean, we didn't do anything to change your heart, right? We didn't do anything to change the efficiency of your lungs, but what we did do is we changed your musculature. So remember, VO2 max is measuring the efficiency in which your body can use oxygen, but what uses most of the oxygen in your body are your muscles, specifically working muscles. So what happened in the latter example is that with stronger muscles that can power you to the top, your heart and lungs do not have to work as hard. You see, your lungs are trying to get oxygen to the working muscles. Your heart is pumping blood to the working muscles. But if muscles work more efficiency, have greater strength, can endure greater amounts of stress, then that means your heart and lungs are not working as hard or don't need to work as hard. And oftentimes the improvement that people see in their cardiovascular conditioning when they do begin doing some type of aerobic exercise, it's specific to that exercise. As the leg muscles get more accustomed to running on the treadmill or running on that road, what inevitably happens is, well, the muscles don't have to work as hard to cover the same amount of distance when you first started running. Think back to the first time you did anything aerobic. Chances are it was really hard, it was really exhausting, but after doing it for maybe a month, 2 months, start to feel a lot easier. And so it's your conditioning that improves. And this is true of every activity. In fact, even resistance training. To some degree, your improvements in resistance training are due to your cardiometabolic improvements. But the difference with resistance training compared to all of these other modalities is that resistance training is the only one that is actually going to continually improve your musculature. It's going to continually improve your strength and help you to maintain it. So when I said earlier that resistance training is the most important thing for somebody who's in their 70s or above, the reason is, as we're aging, what do we lose? Muscle. And when we're losing our muscle, what happens? We start to feel tired. And doing the regular everyday activities that once did not cause us any trouble whatsoever now suddenly have us feeling like we have to take a nap. But the thing is, resistance training is the antidote. It is the one form of exercise that you could do to counteract all of that. And so I go back to what I said earlier. It's not just about building muscle for vanity's sake. It's not about just simply looking better in your clothing or looking better naked. It's not about just being stronger so you can, carry those groceries from the car to the top of your steps and not be out of breath, right? It's about having that strength, but it's about all of it. It's about having better conditioning, most especially as we age. So to answer the original question, for the person who has begun our program and has started the resistance training, is quickly recognizing that, wow, doing these workouts is actually more cardio than cardio. To answer your question, no, you do not have to add any aerobic exercise if you choose not to. And that's regardless of whether you want better heart health. That's regardless of whether you want to burn more body fat. You don't have to. But if you want to, I'm not going to discourage you. I'm going to say go for it. But don't make it a point of stress that this must be as a part of your routine in order for you to have greater health. Am I going to encourage you to always be active? Absolutely. To be constantly moving? Absolutely. In fact, one of our newer members, I was explaining the other day that, because of his work situation, it's not a bad idea for him each day that he's not doing his resistance training, which is only 3 days a week. It's not a bad idea to get on the elliptical, to, go for a walk. Why? Because you should get blood circulating through your body, because you should be active. All of these things, they not only tie into our physical health, but they tie into our mental health. So it's important. But don't make it a point of stress for yourself if there's no place that you could fit it in. If you're concerned that by not doing it, you're somehow missing out. You're not. Not as long as you are resistance training and you are doing it properly, which for us means 30 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, high intensity effort, total focus, and maximizing every single one of those minutes. If you're doing that, then you are right on track. If you need help, then reach out. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. Go out there, hit the weights if you have not done so already, and improve your cardiovascular conditioning. And we're going to be back next week, and we have our GBX Fit 5-day kickoff starting on Monday. So this is going to be for just a special group of you who have ordered the purple pill or are considering it. And if that's you and you want to be a part of it, hey, just let us know. You could just drop a comment below, okay? And we'd be happy to invite you in. So anyway, guys, hope you have an awesome one, and we will catch you next week.